The top 1% don't wake up thinking about money. They wake up thinking about something most people refuse to face. And once you understand what that is, you will never see success the same way again. This isn't about talent. It's not about luck. It's about a single psychological shift that changes everything. Here's the brutal truth. Most people are obsessed with comfort. They want the safe job, the predictable routine, and the path that feels certain. But the top 1%, they are terrified of comfort. Not because they enjoy stress, but because they understand something deeper. Comfort is a silent killer of potential. Think about it. When you are comfortable, your brain stops growing. You stop asking questions. You stop pushing boundaries. You become a passenger in your own life. The top 1% know this. They deliberately put themselves in situations that make them uncomfortable. It's not reckless situations, uncomfortable ones. There's a college dropout named Marcus. He had a decent job at a marketing firm, good salary, nice office. Everyone told him he was set. But Marcus felt something eating at him. He wasn't growing. So he quit, took a pay cut, joined a startup that had a 50% chance of failing. His friends thought he lost his mind. 2 years later, that startup changed his industry. But here's the key. It wasn't the success that transformed Marcus. It was the decision to choose growth over comfort. That choice rewired his entire psychology. He learned to trust himself in uncertainty. And that skill became more valuable than any paycheck. The 1% understand this. They know that every time you choose comfort, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are. The ownership principle. Now let's talk about blame. Most people are experts at it. The economy is bad. My boss doesn't recognize me. I didn't have the right opportunities. My parents didn't support me. And maybe all of that is true. But here's what separates the top 1%. They refuse to be victims of their circumstances. This doesn't mean they ignore reality. It means they take extreme ownership of their response to reality. There's a massive psychological difference between those two things. When you blame external factors, you give away your power. You become dependent on things changing around you. But when you take ownership, something shifts inside your brain. You become the author of your story instead of a character in someone else's. Let me tell you about a woman named Sophia. She grew up in a neighborhood where most people didn't finish high school. Her father left when she was 7. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. Sophia had every reason to blame her circumstances, every statistical reason to fail. But she made a decision at 15 years old. She decided that her past would not write her future. It was not because she was special, but because she refused to let circumstances define her identity. She started reading books from the library. She found mentors online. She worked night shifts and studied during breaks. Today, Sophia runs a nonprofit that helps kids from similar backgrounds. But the lesson isn't her success. The lesson is her psychology. She never once said, "I can't because of my past." She said, "I will despite my past." That tiny shift in language created a massive shift in her reality. The top 1% live by this principle. They know that blame feels good temporarily, but ownership feels powerful permanently. The long game obsession. Here's where most people lose. They want results now. Instant gratification. Quick wins, fast money. And our entire culture feeds this addiction. But the top 1%, they are playing a completely different game. They are obsessed with delayed gratification. This isn't about being patient. It's about understanding compound effects. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. The 1% flip this completely. They think in decades, not days. Look at Jeff Bezos in the early days of Amazon. He wasn't chasing quarterly profits. He was building infrastructure that wouldn't pay off for years. Investors thought he was insane. The media criticized him constantly. His company wasn't profitable for years. But Bezos understood something about human psychology. The willingness to be misunderstood is a superpower. He knew that if he optimized for short-term gains, he'd build a small company. But if he was willing to look foolish, to be criticized, to delay gratification, he could build something that changed the world. And that's exactly what happened. But this principle applies to everyone. You don't need to build Amazon. You need to build your own patience. The 1% train their brains to find pleasure in the process, not just the outcome. They celebrate small improvements. They track progress in ways most people ignore. When someone works out once and doesn't see results, they quit. When someone from the 1% works out once, they think I'm 1% better than yesterday. That mindset, repeated over years, creates an entirely different human being. The top 1% know that success isn't an event. It's an accumulation of decisions that nobody sees happening. The hidden truth. Now here's the truth nobody wants to hear. The mindset that separates the top 1% isn't complicated. It's not some secret formula. It's not hidden knowledge. It's actually simple. And that's why most people reject it. The top 1% are willing to do simple things consistently when nobody's watching. They are not more talented. They are not more intelligent. They are not luckier. They are just more consistent with the basics. They read when they are tired. They work out when they don't feel like it. They show up when it's inconvenient. They have hard conversations when it's easier to stay silent. Most people are looking for the hack. It's the shortcut. The secret strategy. But the real secret is that there is no secret. The 1% just refuse to negotiate with themselves. When they set a standard, they keep it. It's not because they are superhuman, but because they have trained their psychology to value integrity over comfort. And here's the powerful part. This isn't genetic. It's not predetermined. It's a choice you make every single day. It's the gap between average and exceptional isn't talent. It's the willingness to be uncomfortable, to take ownership, and to play the long game when everyone around you is chasing instant results. That's the real separation. Not money, not status. Psychological discipline. So what does this mean for you? It means you have a choice right now. You can keep choosing comfort, keep blaming circumstances, keep chasing quick wins, or you can adopt the psychology of the 1%. Start small. Choose one uncomfortable conversation you have been avoiding. Take ownership of one area where you have been blaming others. Commit to one goal that won't pay off for a year, but will transform you in the process. The top 1% weren't born different. They just decided to think different. And that decision, repeated daily, changed everything. Your circumstances don't define you. Your response to them does. Your past doesn't limit you. Your commitment to growth expands you. The mindset that separates the 1% is available to anyone willing to embrace discomfort, own their story, and trust the process when everyone else is looking for shortcuts. The question isn't whether you can join them. The question is whether you are willing to think like them. Starting today.